patiently for you to snap out of it.
Premier David Eby here. I'm speaking to you from the territory of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations here in Victoria, and I want to congratulate you in Vancouver on holding a Model United Nations on the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. Now it's time to ask the classic Model UN/remote video greeting question. How's my resolution? That's a recycled joke, just doing my bit to cut down on waste and unnecessary consumption. Resolution jokes are hilarious. The Model UN is a time-honored tradition for training young leaders. It's a chance to debate big ideas, make one's own case, and to evaluate opinions that you might not share. We live in a difficult time in a very troubled world. In BC, we've had to cope with the devastating effects of climate change. We thankfully live in a peaceful place, yet conflicts around the world remind us peace is never to be taken for granted. Even with all the trouble in the world, I remain positive. I'm optimistic because I know your generation is up for the challenge. I know you're eager to build peace. I know you want to help those suffering from war, climate change, and hunger. I know you want fairness, justice, and equality for all people in the world. I know you'll bring exciting new ideas to address these problems. And I know you'll help build a better, safer world for all of us. Good luck in your discussions and deliberations. Thank you.
Good evening, delegates, teachers, staff, and distinguished guests. My name is Jaina Sood, and I'm the Director General for Cahsmun 2024. On behalf of the Secretariat and Board of Directors, welcome to the 20th iteration of Canadian High Schools Model United Nations at the Sheraton Wall Centre in Vancouver, British Columbia. I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we are gathered is the shared traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. Specifically, we recognize the Musqueam, Squamish, Stolo, and Tsleil-Waututh nations on whose land we debate, discuss, and discover. I would now like to introduce our Secretariat team, starting with our USG IT, Albert Guo, our USG Outreach, Fin Liu, our USG Delegate Affairs, Selena Chu, our USG Marketing, Rachel Wei, our USG Conference, Audrey Chan, our USG Specialized Agencies, Justine Tioko, our USG General Assemblies, Jessica Wu, our Director of Logistics, Renee Chan, our Chief of Staff, Ethan Yang, and last but certainly not least, our Secretary General, Kieran Sun. Aside from our Secretariat team, this weekend would also not be possible without our sponsors. Their generous support helps us create a better conference each and every year. I would like to introduce our Platinum sponsor, FDT Academy, our Silver sponsors, Forum Print Canada, TKS, Genjidan Yaletown, our partners, Sticker Mule, Coastal Rain, and Steve's Poke Bar, and our official printing sponsor, Westwood Printing and Signs. Delegates, whether you are here with binders full of research and words prepared to burst out of your mind, or here with your first ever position paper and a brimming curiosity for international affairs, I hope that you will find at Cahsmun a community in which you can be brave. I hope that you will stand at that podium and give your speech to resounding cheers. I hope that you will walk away from this weekend having made lifelong friends and lasting memories. Above all, my greatest hope for you all is to learn from each other. Model United Nations has always been about understanding each other so that we can make the world a better place. So, this weekend, listen to each other, learn everything you possibly can, understand each other, reach out with empathy, and make new friends. Learn today so that you can lead tomorrow. Now, I would like to introduce Renee, our Director of Logistics, to discuss some information regarding conference logistics.
Thank you, Jaina. Good evening, everyone. My name is Renee Chan, and I am serving as the Director of Logistics for Cahsmun 2024. Today, I have the distinct honor of detailing conference proceedings. First and foremost is an announcement regarding staggered endings. Committees will be split into 4 separate groups that will exit committee sessions at differing 10-minute intervals in order to prevent congestion in the halls. DICE teams have received the staggered schedule and will be guiding the respective committees throughout the weekend and ensuring that the staggered endings are maintained. In terms of our technology policy, network usage is prohibited within committee sessions. However, delegates are permitted to use their device to refer to any offline notes that have been written beforehand. I'll now hand it over to Audrey to go over the delegate social.
Thank you, Renee. My name is Audrey Chan, and I am the USG Conference for Cahsmun 2024. I am pleased to announce that the theme for this session will be Stellar Soirée. We will be hosting a dance room, a quiet room with a dedicated photo booth, and a karaoke room. The social will also feature a scavenger hunt with prizes spanning all social rooms. In order to claim a prize, please hand in the mini planets that you find to the Secretariat desk. Now, I'll hand it back to Renee to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you, Audrey. Now I am honored to introduce our keynote speaker, Kukai Chaimahawong. Ms. Chaimahawong is currently the Executive Director of the Center for Climate and Business Solutions at the UBC Sauder School of Business and the Board Chair of the Vancouver Entrepreneurs Forum. She aims to bridge the gap between academia, industry, and policymaking, driving the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. With a career spanning from launching an award-winning startup and forming SDG partnerships at the United Nations, to investing in breakthrough technologies through venture capital and private equity, she uses her extensive experience to drive solutions for climate action through business innovation. Please welcome Kukai Chaimahawong.
Good evening, everyone. It's both an honor and a privilege to stand virtually before such bright and diverse group of delegates, future leaders, and esteemed guests gathered for Cahsmun 2024 today. I'm speaking to you from the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I want to take a moment to recognize not only these lands, but also the diverse places of where you're from, the places that you call home. Having lived in various parts of the world, this practice of acknowledging Indigenous lands is one of the most important acts of reconciliation and a truly unique aspect of being a Canadian. It's an important reminder of the deep connection and ongoing relationship between Indigenous peoples and their territories that modern narratives often overlook or undervalue. But more than that, it underscores the importance of reflecting on our own connections and responsibilities to these lands and the communities. I hope that this leads to more questions of who the people that are listed on the acknowledgement are, how we came to be on their lands, and how we are benefiting by being, living, learning, and living on the lands that are traditional territory of Indigenous peoples. My name is Kukai Chaimahawong. I am the Executive Director of the Center for Climate and Business Solutions at UBC Sauder School of Business. Today, I want to chat with you about a year that's just not another year. We're 4 months into 2024, a year that promises to be a historic turning point for our global community. Why, you might ask? Well, this is the biggest election year in history. Voters in more than 60 countries, including 4 out of 5 most populated nations on Earth, will be heading to the polls. This will undeniably shape our collective future. And what stands out the most in this pivotal year is that in every one of these elections, from the largest democracies to the smallest island nations, climate change is unavoidably on the ballot. Last year set a record for being the hottest year ever documented. The planet went through its hottest 12 months in over 125,000 years. From California to East Africa to India, communities faced floods like never before. The US alone accounted $25 billion to weather disasters in 2023. That was more than any other year that's ever happened. Of course, in Canada, we also witnessed the worst wildfire season ever recorded in history, with more than 45.7 million acres burned by the end of September. The smoke from our wildfires was so large that it reached France. The stark reality is that the actions we commit now, the policies we implement, and the leaders that we choose will chart the course of our global emissions trajectories for years to come. Because despite the undeniable urgency, key issues like climate change is often neglected to the sidelines of electoral debates and campaigns. Well, I'm not here to start our conversation on a note of the doom and gloom, nor to overshadow your dinner with stories of despair. Instead, I wanted to outline the backdrop of these extraordinary times we're living in. It's an era that calls for unprecedented momentum towards climate action. It's an era that calls for a comprehensive reevaluation of everything. These times are far from ordinary. Well, despite the adversities and devastations of 2023, we also witnessed significant sparks of hope. For the first time, world leaders at the UN Climate Summit pledged to transition away from fossil fuel and to triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. Well, while many may argue that this is not enough, it is also important to recognize that we have made a significant first step to a collective agreement and acknowledgement. In the United States, the Inflation Reduction Act is a landmark in climate legislation, started directing funds and incentives to fuel change from the grassroots up to businesses and municipalities. The rise in electric vehicle sales also signified the beginning of a new era of transportation, indicative of a shift in consumer values and priorities. These achievements are not isolated victories. They signify the growing momentum of a worldwide movement towards sustainability and stewardship of our planet. There's an unprecedented momentum towards climate action now that we cannot afford to delay. We must accelerate our climate efforts. And for me, this urgency isn't so much so rooted in despair, but in recognizing that sustainability represents now one of the greatest opportunities of our lifetime. So, as you dive into the discussions over the weekend, I want to equip you with 3 simple concepts to carry into even the toughest conversations. Think of these as your toolkit for navigating the complexities of what lies ahead: creativity, diversity, and inclusion. Now, hear me out. On creativity, the challenges we face in the world, like climate change, are shared. Yet, there's no one-size-fits-all solutions. Our goal is unified, but the paths to reach it are as diverse as we are. Consider how Canada's vastness brings a multitude of regional differences to the table. From the needs of the northern communities grappling with harsh climates and remoteness to urban centers facing unique climate challenges, solutions must be tailored. So, for instance, in the north, traditional energy solutions are often impractical due to isolation and extreme weather. Well, here, creativity may means looking outside of the boxes. It may means deploying microgrid technology that utilize local renewable resources like wind and solar or even tidal energy tailored to each community's specific environment. Well, on the other hand, in urban areas, creativity could look like transforming rooftops into solar farms or developing green spaces that doubles as carbon sinks, capturing that carbon and storing them on the buildings. Cities like Singapore have creatively integrated green roofs and vertical gardens into architecture, not just for aesthetics, but to collect and reuse rainwater, reducing runoffs and enhancing urban biodiversity. Now, I'm giving you these examples because it's one of the examples that are showing you to think outside of the traditional box and crafting solutions that respect the unique character of each community. Let these examples inspire you to think creatively in respective committees, seeking out-of-the-box solutions that can address complex global challenges. Well, secondly, let's talk diversity. Diversity, it underlines the importance of integrating multitude of perspectives to enrich discussions and outcomes. I just don't mean the diversity in appearance, but the diversity of thoughts as well. Consider the role of Economic Development Committee in embracing diverse economic models, such as incorporation of Indigenous peoples' sustainable land management practices into national development plans. Well, because this approach not only preserves biodiversity, but also contributes to the economic well-being of Indigenous communities as well. In the context of climate action, embracing diversity might mean something like integrating traditional ecological knowledge with modern science to combat climate change more effectively. Well, let these considerations encourage you to embrace and seek out diversity in thoughts, backgrounds, and disciplines within your committee work, enriching the dialogue and crafting more comprehensive and inclusive policies and decision-making. Well, lastly, inclusion. Inclusion is about making sure that all voices, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, are heard and considered in decision-making processes. For environmental committees, just to give you the example, inclusion could involve engaging local communities in conservation efforts and recognizing their rights and knowledges as crucial to sustainable outcomes. These examples should guide you to prioritize inclusion in your committee discussions, ensuring that policies are not only equitable, but also have the buy-in and support from all stakeholders involved. Big issues that we're facing in the world today isn't just about one sector, one industry, or even one country. It's about transforming our economy, our way of life on a global scale. The transformation will inevitably involve trade-offs. But the questions we need to ask ourselves is, how do we ensure that these trade-offs do not disproportionately impact the most vulnerable amongst us? How do we ensure that in moving forward, we're not leaving anyone behind? Understanding the full extent of these trade-offs require deep empathy and a commitment to listening, truly listening, to where each party is coming from. In weaving together creativity, diversity, and inclusion, we're not just crafting solutions, we're reimagining the fabric of how we address complex problems. This is about harnessing your curiosity, challenging the status quo, and ensuring that voices traditionally left in the margins are heard loud and clear. So, as we step into this weekend's discussion, I encourage you to keep these three principles at the forefront of your mind. They're not only just strategies, they're a call to action, a way to ensure that as we shape the future, we do so in a manner that's just, equitable, and truly innovative. Now, on a personal note before I go, in my journey of working with incredibly passionate and inquisitive young minds at the university, a common thread of questions often emerge, and I feel the need to address them today. What should I do with my future? Which university courses should I pursue? Which organizations should I join? Now, a number of you will begin your next chapter pretty soon. These questions, at their core, reflect a deeper quest for purpose and direction. And based on my experiences and the lessons that I've learned along the way, I'd like to share another 3 key pieces of advice that might help you guide as you navigate these pivotal decisions. Number 1. Find what you're good at. First, discover your strengths. Look for patterns in the activities you're drawn to. Now, on a personal note, before I go, in my journey of working with incredibly passionate and inquisitive young minds at the university, a common thread of questions often emerge. What should I do with my future? Which university courses should I pursue? Which organizations should I join? Where can I make the most impact in my careers? And these questions at the core really reflect a deeper quest for purpose and direction. And based on my experiences and the lessons that I've learned along the way, I'd like to share just another 3 key pieces of advice that might help guide you as you navigate these pivotal decisions. As a number of you I know will be beginning your new chapters very soon. Number 1 is to find out what you're good at. First, discover your strengths. Look for the patterns in the activities you're drawn to, those that naturally bring out your best, and engage in diverse experiences that challenge you and help hone your skills. And remember as well that no skills is too soft or invaluable. Every talent you possess can be a significant contributor to your journey. And it's about identifying what you excel at and finding ways to sharpen these skills further. Whether you can empathize, or you have a knack for solving puzzles, or your gift of storytelling, each skill has a place in shaping a better world. And for me, I found that my strength is in the ability to connect the dots between peoples and ideas. And this revelation came in when I looked back at all the things that I've done in my life, even though they were all on different sectors, from nonprofit organization to the United Nations when I was working on the Sustainable Development Goals, or investment funds when I was actually making investment to early stage startup companies. It's all about connecting people and ideas together. Second, find out what the world needs. Now, you can turn your gaze outward after you turn your gaze inwards. What are the pressing challenges that the world is facing? And I would encourage you to be endlessly curious about the problems around you and potential solutions. This is not just about identifying global issues like climate change or social inequality or understanding local challenges within your community. It's in the curiosity and desire to solve real problems that may find their callings. Paying attention to what the world needs can really help align your passions and skills with causes that are larger than yourself. But it also means as well that you'll never work in a job that bores you. And for me, I have found that is climate change, that is the environment, is the natural resources in which I would like to dedicate my careers to. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is to find out what sets your heart on fire. Well, this isn't always about the grand revelations, but often about small moments that bring you the pure joy. And for me, for example, traveling has always been a source of inspiration and discovery. It's in traversing the different cultures and landscapes that I found a clarity and passion. For you, it might mean something entirely different. It could be the hours spent painting that slip away unnoticed, or the satisfaction of building something from scratch, or the moments that are lost into music. Finding what you love is about connecting with those activities that make you lose track of time. Now, this weekend, as you immerse yourself in discussions and debate, let it be more than just a challenge or a competition. Use this time as an opportunity to reflect on these three magical questions. See if the topics you're drawn to, the discussions that engage you the most, and the problems you're eager to solve can guide you towards answering them. And let's keep in mind the dual nature of our current situation, the challenges we face and the opportunities that lie ahead. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to the incredible ideas, learnings, and solutions that will emerge from this conference.
Thank you, Kukai, for sharing your inspiring message. I would now like to invite our Secretary General, Kieran Sun, to deliver his speech.
Good afternoon, sponsor teachers, chaperones, staff, delegates, and esteemed guests. My name is Kieran Sun, and I am honored to serve as the Secretary General of Canadian High Schools Model United Nations 2024. On behalf of the Secretariat team and our Board of Directors, I welcome each of you to our 20th session. It really feels like an eternity ago since the successful conclusion of Cahsmun 2023. Since then, alongside my Secretariat team, we have been working hard to pursue the same commitment to international consciousness, accessible service, and academic orientation that defines this conference. After 12 months of planning, it is surreal to meet the faces behind the names on a spreadsheet and for 900 of the brightest minds to convene at the Sheraton. I think change is what brings us here today. The hopes of improving ourselves, influencing those around us, and ultimately making a positive impact on the world beyond. A shared dissatisfaction with the current state of the world, a world that we envision transforming into something greater. As future leaders and, at our core, as human beings, we harbor a relentless refusal to settle for the contemporary. After all, it's in our nature to sprint where we can crawl, to unite when we can scatter, to lead when it is easier to follow. The moment you enter committee sessions, you choose to redefine yourself in the moment. Whether you're a motivated Syrian ambassador fighting for humanitarian aid in your state, or a seasoned military general fighting in the Great Turkish War, or a journalist hunting for the latest scoop, immerse yourself in the experience and background of the one you represent. To the first-time delegates, I know exactly what it feels like. Model UN is daunting at first, from specific rules of procedure to the frightening prospect of speaking in front of your peers. But everyone started on the same road. Know that people will not laugh at you for stuttering once or twice in your speech, but only commend you for your bravery in making your voice heard. And I promise, it does get easier. The first step really is the hardest. So this weekend, Take risks and put yourself out there. You won't regret it. To the MUN veterans, think of that same sentiment. Don't settle for experiences you have previously acquired. Practice your leadership within your communities and push your boundaries. This weekend, I implore you all to embrace the challenges you encounter. Embrace the discomfort, embrace the power of your voice, and embrace your potential. Come find new and innovative solutions to the complex issues we face. Your voice and your ideas matter more than ever before. When you leave the conference and return to your usual schedule, something will have changed. You will leave this hotel with new experiences, new ideas, new friend. You will probably never be called the delegate of Switzerland or Uganda again, but you will gain a new perspective on the world. Today, each and every one of you is given equal opportunities. Today, the resources available to you create the ideal learning environment to mold, test, and improve your abilities. The time for action is here. Take advantage of everything within your grasp and learn today so that you may lead tomorrow. We each have an action-packed weekend ahead of us, and we on the Secretariat team are beyond excited to see all the incredible work you will do ahead. With that said, I now declare that Cahsmun 2024 is officially in session.